The production possibility curve, PPC, is one of the most fundamental concepts in economics, often introduced early in any introductory course, but its simplicity belies its depth. This curve encapsulates the essence of economic decision-making and the challenges that every society faces. Let's embark on a thorough exploration of the PPC, examining how it illustrates scarcity, choice, opportunity cost, productive efficiency, full employment, unemployment or underutilization of resources, and changes in the productive capacity of an economy. Rather than treating these as isolated ideas, we'll weave them together, showing how they interact and shape the economic landscape. Imagine a simple economy that produces only two goods, wheat and cars. The PPC is a graphical representation showing all possible combinations of wheat and cars that can be produced with available resources and technology, assuming that all resources are fully and efficiently employed. The curve itself is typically drawn as concave to the origin, reflecting increasing opportunity costs, a concept we'll explore in detail. But before diving into the nuances, let's begin by understanding why the PPC exists at all. At its heart, the PPC is a visual representation of scarcity. Resources, land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurship are limited. No society has infinite resources, which means choices must be made about what to produce and in what quantities. This limitation is what gives rise to the PPC. It shows the boundary between what is possible and what is unattainable given current resources. Points outside the curve are impossible to achieve. Points inside the curve are attainable, but represent underutilization of resources. Only points on the curve itself demonstrate productive efficiency, where every resource is used to its fullest potential. Scarcity is the starting point for all economic analysis. The PPC makes this idea tangible. If you try to produce more wheat, you must divert resources away from car production, and vice versa. It's not possible to increase production of both goods simultaneously without increasing the quantity or quality of resources or improving technology. This trade-off leads directly to the concept of choice. Every point on the PPC represents a different allocation of resources between the two goods. Moving from one point to another involves making choices about what to produce and what to sacrifice. The government, firms, and individuals all face such choices daily, whether deciding how much to spend on healthcare versus education, or how much time to devote to work versus leisure. Opportunity cost is perhaps the most powerful lesson illustrated by the PPC. Whenever a choice is made, the opportunity cost is the value of the next best alternative forgone. On the PPC, moving from one point to another shows exactly what is sacrificed. For instance, if our economy moves from producing 100 units of wheat and 50 cars to producing 120 units of wheat, we might only be able to produce 40 cars. The opportunity cost of those extra 20 units of wheat is the 10 cars that can no longer be produced. This trade-off is not always constant. Due to the law of increasing opportunity costs, the PPC is usually bowed outward. This reflects the reality that resources are not perfectly adaptable to all uses. Some resources are better suited for producing wheat, others for cars. As more and more resources are shifted toward wheat production, less suitable resources must be used, causing the opportunity cost to rise. Productive efficiency is another core concept embodied in the PPC. Points on the curve itself show combinations of goods where resources are being used in the most efficient way possible. No waste, no idle machines or workers, and no misallocation. If the economy is operating inside the curve, it means some resources are not being used. Perhaps there is unemployment or factories are sitting idle. This situation is undesirable because the economy could produce more of both goods simply by using its resources more effectively. It's only when the economy is on the curve that it achieves productive efficiency. Full employment is closely related to productive efficiency. In economic terms, full employment doesn't mean zero unemployment. It refers to the optimal use of labor, where everyone willing and able to work at prevailing wages is employed. On the PPC, full employment is represented by any point on the curve. When the economy is inside the curve, it means there is unemployment or underutilization of other resources. This could happen during a recession when factories close and workers are laid off, or due to structural issues like mismatches between workers' skills and available jobs. Unemployment and underutilization of resources are easy to spot on the PPC. Any point inside the curve signals that the economy is not reaching its productive potential. There are many reasons why this might occur. Cyclical unemployment during downturns, structural unemployment due to technological change, or even inefficiencies caused by poor management or lack of investment. The PPC helps policymakers see the gap between actual and potential output, and serves as a reminder of the importance of policies that move the economy back toward full employment and productive efficiency. Changes in the productive capacity of an economy are also vividly illustrated by shifts in the PPC. When an economy grows, through investment in new machinery, improvements in technology, better education, or discovery of new resources, the PPC shifts outward. This shift means the economy can now produce more of both goods than before. Conversely, if resources are destroyed by war, natural disasters, or deterioration, the PPC shifts inward, indicating a reduction in productive capacity. These shifts highlight the dynamic nature of economies and the importance of policies that foster growth and development. Let's bring these concepts together with a concrete example. Suppose a country discovers a new oil field, increasing its energy resources. This development allows it to produce more goods overall, so its PPC shifts outward. Now it can produce more wheat and more cars than before. Alternatively, imagine a severe drought that destroys crops and damages farmland. The PPC would shift inward, reducing the maximum possible output of both goods. Such changes are not just theoretical. They have real-world implications for living standards, employment, and economic growth. The PPC also provides a framework for understanding the effects of technological progress. Suppose a breakthrough occurs in car manufacturing, allowing cars to be produced more efficiently. The PPC would rotate outward, increasing the maximum number of cars that can be produced for any given amount of wheat. This kind of shift shows how technological change can affect specific sectors without necessarily impacting the entire economy equally. Another important insight from the PPC is the concept of economic growth versus economic development. Economic growth refers to an outward shift of the PPC, more output, more goods, higher GDP. Economic development, however, is broader, encompassing improvements in living standards, health, education, and equality. While the PPC focuses on the quantitative aspect of production, it prompts us to ask deeper questions about what is being produced and for whom. Should an economy focus on producing more luxury cars or more food? The PPC doesn't answer these normative questions, but it provides the analytical foundation for discussing them. The PPC is also a powerful tool for illustrating the benefits of specialization and trade. Imagine two countries, each with their own PPCs. If one country is relatively better at producing wheat and the other at producing cars, both can benefit by specializing in their area of comparative advantage and trading with each other. Through trade, both countries can consume beyond their individual PPCs, enjoying more goods than they could produce alone. This principle forms the basis of international trade theory and explains the gains from global commerce. But the PPC is not just about abstract theory. It's deeply relevant to everyday policy decisions. Governments constantly face choices about how to allocate resources. Should more be spent on healthcare or defense, education or infrastructure? The PPC reminds us that every choice involves a trade-off and opportunity cost. Understanding these trade-offs is essential for making informed decisions that promote the welfare of society. Let's consider the case of a government facing high unemployment. The economy is operating inside the PPC. To move toward the curve, policies might include job training programs, incentives for businesses to hire, or investments in public infrastructure. The goal is to bring idle resources back into productive use, increasing output and improving living standards. Alternatively, suppose the government wants to boost long-term growth. Policies might focus on shifting the PPC outward, investing in education, research and development, or infrastructure. Such investments increase the economy's productive capacity, allowing more goods and services to be produced in the future. Sometimes economies face difficult choices that are vividly captured by the PPC. During a crisis, such as a pandemic, resources may need to be diverted from normal production to emergency healthcare. The PPC shows that producing more ventilators or hospital beds may mean producing fewer consumer goods or services. These trade-offs are real and unavoidable, and the PPC helps policymakers understand their implications. The PPC also highlights the importance of efficiency and innovation. By improving processes, adopting new technologies, or finding better ways to allocate resources, economies can move closer to the curve and eventually shift it outward. This drive for efficiency is at the heart of economic progress. But the PPC also reminds us of the limits of growth. Resources are finite, and choices must be made. The environment, for example, is a critical resource that must be managed wisely. Overexploitation can lead to environmental degradation, shifting the PPC inward and reducing future productive capacity. Sustainable development requires balancing current production with the preservation of resources for future generations. In the context of modern economies, the PPC remains as relevant as ever. As societies grapple with issues like climate change, inequality, and technological disruption, the fundamental lessons of scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost continue to guide decision-making. The PPC provides a clear framework for understanding these challenges and evaluating the options available. Let's dig deeper into the nuances of the PPC by considering the role of investment and capital formation. Investment in physical capital, machines, factories, infrastructure, enables economies to produce more goods in the future. This is reflected in an outward shift of the PPC. But investment itself requires sacrificing current consumption. Resources used to build factories cannot be used to produce consumer goods today. The PPC makes this trade-off explicit, showing the opportunity cost of investment. Human capital is equally important. Investments in education and training enhance the skills and productivity of the workforce, contributing to economic growth. Again, these investments require resources that could be used elsewhere, and the PPC helps clarify these choices. Technological innovation is a key driver of economic growth. New technologies make it possible to produce more goods with the same resources, effectively shifting the PPC outward. The digital revolution, for example, has transformed industries and increased productivity across the globe. The PPC illustrates how these advances expand the range of possible outputs and improve living standards. The PPC also sheds light on the distribution of resources within an economy. Not all sectors are equally productive, and not all resources are perfectly mobile. The curve reflects the reality that reallocating resources from one sector to another involves increasing opportunity costs. This insight is crucial for understanding structural change, how economies evolve over time as new industries emerge and old ones decline. Consider the transition from agriculture to manufacturing in developing countries. Initially, resources are shifted from farming to factories, increasing output and incomes. But as more resources are moved, the opportunity cost rises, and further gains become harder to achieve. The PPC captures this process, showing the limits of reallocation and the importance of balanced growth. The concept of the PPC also applies to individual decision-making. Households face choices about how to allocate their time and money. Should a family spend more on education or entertainment? The PPC provides a framework for understanding these choices and the opportunity costs involved. Businesses, too, use the logic of the PPC in their planning. Firms must decide how to allocate resources among different products, investments, and markets. The PPC helps managers evaluate trade-offs and make decisions that maximize efficiency and profitability. The PPC is also a valuable tool for teaching economics. Its simplicity makes it accessible to students, while its depth provides a foundation for more advanced analysis. Through the PPC, students learn to think critically about scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost, skills that are essential for understanding the world around them. But the PPC is not without limitations. It assumes only two goods, which simplifies analysis but doesn't capture the complexity of real economies. In reality, economies produce thousands of goods and services, and resources are allocated among many competing uses. Nonetheless, the PPC provides a useful starting point for analysis and helps build intuition about economic principles. Another limitation is the assumption of fixed resources and technology. In practice, resources and technology change over time, and the PPC must be updated to reflect these changes. Despite these limitations, the PPC remains a powerful tool for understanding the basic challenges of economic decision-making. Let's return to our initial example of wheat and cars. Suppose the government introduces a subsidy for wheat production, encouraging farmers to grow more wheat. Resources shift from car manufacturing to wheat farming, moving the economy along the PPC. The opportunity cost is fewer cars produced. Policymakers must weigh the benefits of increased wheat output against the costs of reduced car production. Alternatively, suppose the government invests in research to improve car manufacturing. The PPC rotates outward for cars, allowing more cars to be produced for any given level of wheat production. This kind of targeted investment can have significant effects on the economy, increasing output and creating new opportunities. The PPC also helps explain the impact of external shocks. A sudden increase in oil prices, for example, raises production costs for both wheat and cars, potentially shifting the PPC inward. Policymakers must respond by adjusting resource allocation, managing the trade-offs between different sectors. In times of crisis, such as natural disasters or pandemics, the PPC provides a framework for understanding the constraints faced by policymakers. Resources must be allocated to emergency response, often at the expense of normal production. The PPC shows the limits of what is possible and the opportunity costs of different choices. The PPC also highlights the importance of flexibility and adaptability. Economies that can quickly reallocate resources in response to changing circumstances are better able to maintain output and recover from shocks. The PPC encourages policymakers to invest in education, training, and infrastructure that enhance flexibility and resilience. In conclusion, the production possibility curve is far more than a simple diagram. It is a window into the fundamental challenges of economic life: scarcity, choice, and opportunity cost. It shows the importance of efficiency, full employment, and the wise use of resources. It illustrates the potential for growth and development and the limits imposed by finite resources. It provides a framework for understanding trade, innovation, and structural change. And it reminds us that every choice involves a trade-off, and every opportunity comes at a cost. By studying the PPC, we gain a deeper appreciation for the complexities of economic decision-making and the importance of thoughtful, informed choices. Whether at the level of governments, firms, households, or individuals, the lessons of the PPC guide us toward a more efficient, equitable, and sustainable future. Its enduring relevance is a testament to the power of economic analysis to illuminate the world and improve our lives.